Before we get into the episode today, I want to take a minute to say that this was recorded 2 weeks before we found out about this news about Andrea Barrett. I'm sure Neola will join me in expressing her sentiments and condolences to her family and her loved ones, and really joining the nation in mourning and praying that her soul rests in peace. Welcome to Conversations. Today's conversation is with Neola Zama. No stranger to the show, a friend to the room at this point. Neola is always makes herself available to come on and talk to us about several different topics on mental health. Go back and check out the episodes with Neola before. I know Bah Humbug we did around Christmas to talk about grief during the holiday season. Many issues we've covered, and the issue that we promised to come back and cover was on setting boundaries. Neola has some coaching coming up. Check out her Instagram page, guys. It's Neola_Zama_. And you will find in her bio links to sign up to the coaching on boundaries. I'm already signed up. I'm excited to get started. So I decided that would be a good idea to just have the conversation with her and let's see what this course is about. It's a good way for me to not be nervous going into the course so I could find out a little more about what this is about and how it's going to be. So let's get Neola on the phone.
Hey, Corey.
Hey, how are you going?
Well, I won't let you know.
What no?
I've disregarded my boundaries and paying the price today. I'm exhausted.
What are you going to do? You going to take on too much?
I wonder if somebody could do some coaching for me on how to, not take on too much, take a nap, say no.
But listen, we look into you for this, and this is not it's not so comforting.
So the good thing is, it's a work in progress, and I think it's so good to be aware of it.
Well, boy, listen, I don't think awareness is a good word because I didn't know what boundaries were before we start talking about this.
Right.
But you see, that feeling you're describing, that exhaustion, I know exactly how you feel. I think it's like double the exhaustion sometimes because you end up doing things that you're not 100% into. And that sometimes takes double the effort just to get through it or whatever it is. And it was almost never worth it, no?
Exactly. I spoke to someone today. Well, she's not my client, but she was, people often call like advice, and she was telling me that she's depressed and suicidal. If somebody says that, I have to stay on the phone with them a little longer.
Right.
Because instead of referring them to somebody, I want to do what we call a suicide risk check, right? Just to see how much at risk she is of killing herself. And as she spoke, you know what the whole thing is?
What's that?
No boundaries. So it started off with no boundaries. And then it turned into depression. And then when she tried to put the boundaries in, which usually happens, there was pushback from the family. She felt guilty, gave up the boundaries, the depression got worse, and now she wants to kill herself.
Wow.
Now, that wouldn't happen to most of us.
Right.
But it struck me again that it starts off as this tiny thing that we don't recognize. And then it just grows into all those things, the guilt and the resentment, and then we get so angry. I was really reminded of that today. And I told her, because I referred her, and I said, listen, I want you to let the counselor know that we're here to work on boundaries.
Wow. I would not think it's that it could get that far, but I could see what you mean.
Yeah. So depression can spiral into so many other things,
Well, I never really connected, even though we talk about this, I never really connected depression to it, but I guess, if it's going on for too long, you're kind of losing yourself a little bit in the mix, I suppose. All right, so I'm giving you an opportunity to set a hard boundary. You want to postpone since you're exhausted, or you want to go through this? No pressure whatsoever.
No, because my brain is excited to do it. So if I try to nap, which I did today, all I could think about was the workbook.
I could imagine.
Yeah, and I keep wanting to add things, and I have to say, look, hold on, it's a 6-hour class, we could probably do like a master class at another time. But
That is a
some
great
things
idea.
didn't. I think it's a great idea, right? Because this is our beginners class,
Mm-hmm.
and then we could have a master's class. And what occurred to me is I actually wanted to ask you a few questions
Sure.
because you're a student, you're coming to the class,
Now I'm nervous, but yeah.
and so no pressure. Remember, we have vodka and sage to deal with this, right?
All right, good. We get it. We there.
Yeah. So your experience mirrors what happens with so many people where they don't know what a boundary is. They just have a gut sense that something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you start explaining boundaries to them, all these light bulbs go off, and then they say, hang on, I think I have some gaps in my boundaries. So I wanted to ask you what it was like for you learning that boundaries was a thing.
That's a real interesting question. Like most things that cause me to look at myself, like assess or pay attention to the way I feel, I guess is the best way to put it. Most of it happened in therapy for me. So it was always overwhelming and surprising because when I really didn't understand what it meant by boundaries, and I think the best therapist I was working with was trying to explain it as, listen, they have a point at which you end and the rest of the world or everybody else begins. She's saying the more blurry it is the more difficult it's going to be for you. Because you have things you want to do, things you want to accomplish, and you have limited resources, is the way she put it.
Right. That's a lovely explanation.
Well, she was good at talking to me in business terms because then I could understand. When it was too much of feelings, I was getting confused. But once it's business, once you say limited resources and you're spreading your resources, then I know what I mean. You're going to go out of business.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when she said that, it forced me to check myself a little bit because that was the first time, when people who in your world said energy, right? I always used to think of it as some cosmic thing, like, energy and vibe and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So until she started talking about boundaries, I didn't realize that a part of the energy is your physical energy. It's only so much time you have and so much energy you have to do stuff.
Right.
So she was, she when I was maybe a little flippant about it, and she kind of forced the issue. She's like, no, this might be one of the issues why you're facing things, because I remember telling her, I don't remember if I told you this, but in one of these sessions, I was telling her that I was a 48-hour kind of guy.
Right.
So I don't care what happens. Somebody pass away.
I remember you and your 48-hour thing.
We did speak about that, right?
Yeah. And then I asked, what happens at 47 hours and 45 minutes?
Listen, it's heavy suppression. It's not going forward. We have an hour to get rid of this. You know what I
mean? Right.
And she was relating that right back to the same thing with boundaries, because her point was that you could get away with that when you have nothing going on. You're a teenager, you're a young adult, you're living by your mother, nothing happening. But she says, as you add layers of things that could become stressful in your life, career, children, wife, household, mortgage, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She was saying that you have to, I guess, protect your energy. I hate that I'm saying that because, but you have to protect your own energy. So that's the way she brought it across to me. And I guess, like, to answer your question, like most things in therapy, I thought it wasn't an issue at all.
Right.
I was like, nah, boundaries. Yeah, I kind of know where to tell people to stop, but I realized that that I don't, and it's a little bit more difficult with loved ones or people who have consequence in your life, if I could put it like that.
Right.
And I don't like telling people no. I had to come to terms with that. Like, I would always, my favorite term is, I'll figure it out. Okay, we have this to do, don't worry, I'll figure it out. And I kind of take it on my shoulders. So it was a little bit of a chin check for me when I heard boundaries, and I had to start working on it.
So you discovered that in therapy?
Yeah. I didn't know the term before therapy at all.
Right.
And as usual, I resisted accepting that I didn't have them. I think everything good, you know me.
Mm-hmm. And did you start noticing gaps in your boundaries after the session?
Yes, almost immediately during the session.
Right.
And almost like, when you say gaps, there were times when I realized there were areas in my life where I was good, where boundaries were concerned, and it was easy for me to say no.
Right.
And I realized, there was the next extreme as well, where it was extremely difficult to say no to anything.
Okay.
And I would take on more and more and more to my own detriment. And maybe is one of the reasons I ended up in therapy as well. Because you remember, my therapy thing was, my journey to therapy was almost collapsing in front of a class.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's really just taking on too much, trying to please everybody kind of thing. So people
Right.
pleasing, is that a boundary thing?
Yes.
Okay.
I am a recovering people pleaser,
Really?
but I disguised it as I think most of us do as I'm being nice.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And the opposite too, you just feel like you're not being nice if you don't do the thing. Or
exactly. So then there's this guilt, and I'm a bad person, and I'll go to bed thinking about, oh my gosh, I told this person no. I'm the only person in the world who could help them with this. If I don't do this, they're gonna die.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you don't put into words, but it feels like if I don't do this, I'm going to die. So I would say yes to everything all the time. Taking on work that's not mine, I would almost jump up and down and say, pick me, pick me, pick me.
Yeah.
So everything is a yes. Everything has to be perfect at all times. You go somewhere, you're not happy to be there, slap a smile on your face
Of
because you don't want people to
course.
feel bad. Or, you have to say yes to everything because it will look bad. Mind you, years later, when I discovered I had no boundaries and I started to ask myself, who does it look bad to? I had no idea who I was putting up this show for.
Right.
I didn't even know. Um, I mean, sometimes it looks bad to people, I suppose, like your spouse or your relatives. And then the next question is, so if it looks bad to them and I feel like crap, am I not kind of being dishonest though? Like pretending I want to be here and having a good time and really I just want to go home and sleep.
Yeah, that's pretty
And then
true.
when you say no, nothing happens.
That's the fearful part, boy. Maybe if there was something that I could say, the main reason why I would have signed up for this, on your journey to help people with it, is really that. Because I live with a lot of guilt when I say no. And I know that sometimes I'm saying no for my best interest.
Right.
Or for like to protect my own energy, or just because I just can't make it. I can't do it sometimes. So it's like I was telling you one time, like if I decided not to go, you invite me to some kind of event or something, I don't feel comfortable till the event done. I'd be stewing over it and thinking, oh God, everything going wrong. They're probably not having a good time. Why didn't I say yes? I should have just gone.
So much resentment.
It's a lot, it's a lot, it's a lot. And I've dealt with that sometimes even when I say yes to the thing. And I could say it like this. When I say yes to the thing, it might be worse. So I might say yes to going somewhere.
Right.
And then I'm miserable for the whole week before because I know that thing is coming up and I can't get it out of my mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know where to start. That people pleasing thing was a shocker for me. But
Right.
it comes out. And this is why I always tell you, like, therapy is that type of experience because, like you always say, it's holding up a mirror. It's the best description I heard because sometimes I just wonder what is really doing it because you don't really be doing nothing. I don't understand why does this happen in them sessions.
Yeah.
But somewhere in the middle of the session, you come to a realization that, and I saw it would work a lot. When that, like you say, they're throwing out tasks, things to be done, and so on. Even if I don't have to say anything, nobody in the room is looking at me to do this thing. But when everybody gets silent, I kind of start to feel pressure like, hey, maybe I should just, let me just do it. You understand?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like a non performer if I don't take on the additional task or do the impossible, really.
So one of the things we're going to do in the class, and my favorite class is actually day one, because we dig into so many things. So far, just to give people who are listening a little teaser. So far we're touching on the ideas that we hold about boundaries. So far what we've had is, I must appear nice and likable to everyone around me. I have control over other people's feelings. So if I say yes, I'll control their feelings and they'll be happy with me and everything will be fine. Then we have another one. If I say no, I'll feel guilty, and this guilt is unbearable, so I cannot say no.
Oh.
Another one is everybody's looking at me. I can read minds. I know they're going to think poorly of me, so I have to present this facade that I'm okay with taking on this extra stuff, right? And when you break it down like that, and we use the actual real words for them, I think it starts to hit home a little more that we hold some very strong ideas that lead us to break our boundaries. Now, wrapping up all of these ideas is the feeling of discomfort. So I'm saying discomfort loosely because that covers guilt,
Right.
sometimes shame, a desire to be approved of by everyone. And we generally have an idea in life. So this is not related to boundaries.
Right.
We have this idea, it's a rule that we all have. If something feels uncomfortable, it's bad for me. I cannot tolerate it, so I mustn't do it at all. So for the week so far, I've had at least 3 clients say to me when I congratulated them on their progress, and it was really amazing progress. And I'd say things like, you did this thing and you did really well. And automatically, yeah, but this is so hard with the whole voice and everything.
Of
And,
course.
we have this rule, it's hard, so I shouldn't do it. Or on the flip side, what we're really saying is this should be easy and it should feel great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the trick is learning to sit with the discomfort and recognizing that we could actually do things that are good for us that feel bad in the moment. So I always use the example of going to the gym.
Right.
I don't love the gym. I find it's an ugly thing. Like the machinery is ugly. It's heavy, and I just find that you go there and everything is just ugly.
Yeah.
But and then you feel like crap after you can't bend down to pee properly. You can't walk up the stairs. You can't brush your teeth.
Right.
But it's so good for you. It helps you to have a better life. You live longer because you're healthier. You stand up straight, you breathe better, your spine gets stronger, which is amazing when you're in your 40s
Right.
and getting older. And so we do things, we don't realize that we actually do things that we're uncomfortable with all the time.
Right.
But when it comes to doing internal work, we suddenly think that it has to feel amazing.
That's I mean, that was me approaching it. Because you know what therapists used to tell me in the beginning? Like, Corey, you have to do the work. And I think I couldn't understand what they mean.
What does that mean?
Exactly. I used to feel like what exactly you mean by do the work? What do I have to do? Give me an exercise or give me something specific to do. And I wouldn't show up the next week without it. So that's why I like the idea of the workshop that you're doing, because it sounds practical in the way you approach it. It really forces you to look at yourself and make some changes.
Yeah, it's really practical. I have issues with coaching classes, and I guess I designed my coaching class to be certain things, but also to not be certain things. So it's not a bunch of motivational speeches that are going to leave you feeling amazing and you're flying through space and it's wonderful.
Oh, man.
Some of the work is uncomfortable,
right.
But the reason that it's doable, it's going to be doable. So we have the support of the group. So if you have to complain and you have to whine and complain, it will be 3 of you whining and complaining together. And the very idea that you're not alone is actually healing and supportive, because we need that connection to heal. So that's why it's a small group format, right? So everybody's together. Plus, because I'm a licensed clinician, I am able to hold that space for you all in a safe way.
Yeah, I think that helps. Like having somebody else there who gonna complain too, that's a winner. So that I'm not feeling like me alone. But again, you get support.
Plus.
That's right. You get some support.
It's an absolute plus.
Yeah, I like the idea.
So day one, we're going to dive deep into. So I hold this idea, and how does this help me? Because it helps, right? If it didn't help me, we wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
But that little piece of satisfaction and solace you get in the short term actually doesn't help in the long term. So the difference in this class is we're going to look at the ways that this boundary has been helping you. It's porous for a reason, and it's helping you, but it's harming you as well. And when people start seeing the benefits and the losses of their behavior, it naturally leads the brain into thinking, well, how can I change this?
Right.
So that nobody has to tell you to change. You see it on your own.
Mm.
And then even the homework is designed to help you because we have a 2 week gap for you to practice. And part of the homework from day one is for you to observe in your life when you notice yourself breaking those own boundaries. Because we think boundaries are for everybody else, and we go in and we snap our fingers and we roll like a lion and we know the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we break internal boundaries all the time.
Yeah, let's talk about that because that's an interesting one. Like when you say, so just a step back, when you say boundary, for
Right.
somebody who's never heard the term, when you say set a boundary, what does that look like?
Okay, so a boundary is needed to protect your space, and it's about self preservation, one.
Mm-hmm.
But a boundary also teaches people healthy ways to treat with you. So it helps you to love yourself and others at the same time. So I always tell people to think of yourself like a house.
Right.
And when we go to bed at night, we close the gate, we lock the doors. Most of us have burglar proof and we sleep and we're generally safe and sound, right?
Right.
So that keeps all of the bad things out. Now, if you were to go to bed and leave the door open, it's still kind of safe because the gate is closed, but something could get inside.
Mm.
Now, if you left everything open, good and bad are going to come in. So, for a person, think of that like you are the house, so the body and the mind, the brain, the personality, the heart, the soul, all of this is in the body,
Mm-hmm.
and your personal space is surrounded by a gate. Now, some of us have rigid boundaries, so that's like a brick wall. And the brick wall keeps the bad things out, so it keeps disrespectful people out, people who use you, toxic people. But the thing with having a brick wall is that it keeps all of the good things out as well. So there's no
Ah.
close friendships, no love, no support because you don't ask for support because you don't let anybody in. So that's a brick wall. And some of us have wide open boundaries, so we don't even have a fence or a gate around us. There's just nothing at all. Now, of course, the good things come in, but you also let in toxic people, bad relationships. You take on burdens that aren't yours, and that's very exhausting. So, a healthy boundary is a fence with a gate in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no bricks, you can see through it. The breeze is coming, it's healthy, you can breathe.
Right.
And there's a gate, and you decide how much you open the gate. So, there are people in my life who, the gate is wide open with them because I know that they're safe. I know I could trust them. I know that I can divulge a lot and my stuff is safe and private with them.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people where the gate is closed with a padlock and I am inside looking at you from a distance because you are so toxic and abusive and dishonest and unsafe for me.
Right.
And then most people, the gate is open a few inches. So, you come and go. And then the next thing to it, the gate, remember, it's flexible. So over time, if I've had a relationship grow and the trust is deepening and the person I've realized is safe and becoming safer,
Mm-hmm.
then I can open the gate even more. It's not that I have this person outside and they're never going to come in. Some people, we need to leave them outside forever.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we can trust, in safe relationships, and we talk about that as well. On day two, we talk about boundary movement.
No, but I had to
Where
ask you. Sorry, but when I never thought before you said this that too rigid a boundary could be a problem for people. So for instance, I think of this as a course that will help people like myself who have a problem setting boundaries.
to
But
close the boundaries, right? Yeah.
right, but you're saying that it will
Yeah.
also help people whose boundaries are too closed.
Yeah, we have to open boundaries because the thing is, human beings are wired for connection, right? We heal and thrive and we grow and we live longer in happy, warm, loving relationships. So we touched on this a while ago in the last podcast, I think, where we spoke about the Harvard study on
Right,
happiness.
right, right.
Yeah. So people who are in safe, loving relationships, they live longer than people who aren't.
Mm.
So we have to have safe, loving relationships Some of us, because of trauma or having been broken-hearted or betrayed in the past, we've put up the brick wall. But when you do that, you do keep the unsafe people out, but you keep all of the safe, loving people out as well. And that's very unhealthy. So sometimes we need to open our boundaries a bit. I spoke to a client recently. She's very closed off. I suspect, issues with control. And so she's having a lot of trouble in her romantic relationships now. Of course, you're going to have trouble because you keep everybody outside of a brick wall.
Right.
And any type of love, so friendship love, spouse love, sibling love, love requires vulnerability, not so?
Of course.
And vulnerability is scary.
Yeah,
But
for
there's
sure.
risk in loving. And so we don't go and we break down the brick wall. We don't do that. We talk about how to open it in tiny steps and progress as we go along. So on day 2, we're going to talk about where are some boundaries that we could close and where are some that we could open. And then we talk about likely reactions, both internally and externally, when you open and close. So this is very deep work, which is why the class is so small,
Right.
because I want to pay a very high level of attention to each person. And yes, we have internal boundaries, which we break all the time. I do it. So I would be in my bed. I took my sleeping tablet, prescription, of course. And instead of, just lying down and taking all the lights, I'm on the phone mindlessly scrolling through social media, which hypes me up because then it's blue light and then I'm just looking at crap. So I've broken my internal boundary, which is I need to relax and go into sleep mode. So I've just broken it because I'm not relaxed at all.
Right.
I'm not in sleep mode at all. I did it today because I took on too much. So I made my boundary around time and my energy a little too open there where I could have closed it. So on day 1, we talk about those things first. There's a list that we go through.
Right.
And we're going to look at which of these you've actually broken for yourself. And then the trick is, what you would notice is that those are the same ones that we allow people to break with us.
Who knew?
Yeah.
It's
really interesting work.
Yeah, I didn't think of boundaries at all. When I hear boundary, well, first, this is the first I hearing of too rigid a boundary, which is, I'm intrigued by that because I guess it's the opposite of what I deal with. But that couldn't be, like, when you're dealing with where therapy is concerned, right? It calls for a certain amount of opening up that I find to be difficult to do. Is it that somebody who has very rigid boundaries might be a client who you have to do more work with to get them to express themselves or talk through issues, or is it?
So get them is an interesting word that we use in boundary work,
Right.
and we'll come back to that in a minute. So I'll speak first from a therapist.
Right.
I actually don't want my clients to trust me right off the bat.
Okay.
So a lot of therapy is teaching by modeling. So I want to model for you what a safe relationship looks like. So I am going to be reliable. I'm going to show up to the session on time. When I say I'm going to do something for you, I'm going to do it on time. If I'm not able to do it, I'll let you know and I'll apologize and I'll explain why. I follow up with you. So I'm modeling. This is what it means to be reliable, honest, and trustworthy. And so when you see that, then I want you to trust me. I want you to ask me how I work, and I want you to assess me first.
Right.
So that you take that assessment and you learn what a safe relationship looks and feels like, so that you can transfer that to your life outside of the session. So I don't have to get you ready to do anything. I have choices and I have to behave in a reliable way. And then you can ideally take that information and decide that it's safe. Now, that doesn't work with everybody. I've had clients whose boundaries were too rigid. They weren't willing to open them at all. And they would naturally fall off of session because they're not ready to do that work and open that boundary, which is fine. Because one of the things to with boundaries we have to remember is that we can't get anybody to do anything.
Of course.
And one of the biggest obstacles I come across, not obstacle, challenge, I suppose, is where clients would come back and say, well, this is a total failure and I'm not doing this anymore because I put in the boundary and they were still behaving badly.
Oh, yeah, it's about me. It's not about the other person.
But of course, they're behaving badly because they are custom and we've allowed them to for our whole lives.
Yeah.
How else would they behave? But the boundary isn't to control someone, it's to protect you. So, of course, you're going to say no. You can't come over and spend the weekend because I'm busy and my child is sick. And of course, you're going to get blue vex and slam down the phone. But guess what? You've just protected your weekend, your energy, your time, and your space.
Right.
And come Monday morning when it's time for you to go to work, you're not going to be a resentful, hateful person. You'll be calm. Your child will feel better. You had your weekend to yourself, Yeah, but we have to see how everything is linked. So we have to come back to what are the ideas that I hold around saying no. Can I sit with saying no and be uncomfortable knowing that this person is angry with me? Am I saying this to control them or for myself? And so everything is linked, and the class is very cumulative because it really builds. That's why we need the building blocks. So we build up those small blocks and then we do the heavy lifting on the second day.
You see, that's why mankind in trouble, Like, as a man, nothing is linked. Let me say that one time. Like, but when you say it makes perfect sense. But we don't live like that, really, Let me talk for myself. I don't know if all men like that. But the more evolved man must be done linked already. So let me talk from the caveman point of view. It's really work, and it's home, and it's your son, and it's, it's so disjointed. It's unbelievable. But you're right. It's still only one me. It's one set of energy you have. And I mean, when you say setting boundaries with yourself really is really the stepping stone for setting boundaries with others, it makes perfect sense too, because
exactly,
I would have never thought about...
If you could sit with that guilt from treating yourself well, because we feel bad, yeah?
For sure.
We feel bad. You spend money and buy all these nice things for another person. But, we wouldn't pay and go for a deep tissue massage if our neck is killing us. But somebody else, oh my gosh, you don't have money, let me help you. You should go buy this one, that one. And then we feel bad. We feel really bad. We sit with that guilt and we do it anyway. It's a great lesson to the body that you can survive guilt.
Who knew? Everything really connected for real.
You are not going to die. You're not going to die.
It's feel that way, because when you say that, like, I dealt with guilt for a long time. Maybe something that I still struggle with. I should remember to talk about this when we meet in a session, because I guess where work concerned, it takes a lot out of me to take a break, if I could put it like that. So I don't feel relaxed when I'm not doing work. Like, I'll say that I'm tired and I don't want to do anything and stuff. But I carry the burden of not doing anything as like, listen, I should probably respond to this email. I should correct some papers. I have I cycle around with that all the time. So it's like, how you going to switch that off? But I hear you loud and clear. If you could figure out how to deal with that guilt with yourself, with other people, it's a step in the right direction to dealing with it where other people are concerned.
Yeah. I hardly take breaks as well. I have to force myself to get up from the chair. And another thing is, and I know a lot of women do this, I hold my pee for hours and hours and hours. And at the time I thought, okay, just push through, send this one email. But, that's a boundary. I deserve to listen to my physical needs and take care of my basic human needs for wellness.
Well, listen, I'm absolutely a woman. If this is the case,
you do that too. Yeah. Why? Why do you do? I know I do it too. I'm just interested.
No, but that's a real good question. I never really asked. I never saw it as an issue before you just say it. But like, if I'm in a meeting, for instance, and you listen, your body is telling you what it needs. Your body don't play games.
Right.
I don't know. That's a real good question. I would just figure out a way to rally through until it's almost too late. But I ain't getting up and I ain't stopping no meeting to ask nobody where no washroom is. It ain't happening. Serious. Nah. Especially if you buy a client or something. I like, and listen, this is so relevant. This happened like this week. I trying to close a deal, and listen, there's no risk whatsoever. If I just say, hey, give me a minute, the washroom, I come back now. Nobody
Nothing will
cares.
happen.
Nothing will
Nothing
happen.
will happen. And I bet you when you do that, 3 other people jump up and say, yeah, I need to go.
Yeah, people
and everybody's holding it and just waiting for the other person. It's so, I mean, some of it is ridiculous, huh? When you start to.
Well, that's the problem. When you ask these questions, it shed light on how ridiculous these things are. Because I also do it when people, like I remember in that same meeting, we only meeting is a long meeting. There's no way getting around that. And they were like, hey, we ordered lunch and everything, so maybe we can. And you know what's my first reaction to that? It's like, nah, okay. This time my belly biting, and thank God the man next to me said he go and eat, and I was like, well, all right, I'll eat one time. But I don't know why.
I do that all the time. I am a person, if you know me correct, I love my belly.
Yeah,
oh my
like,
gosh.
I wonder what is that? Why?
Well, you tell me, let's do a little class teaser. So dig deep and what's the underlying belief. So I'll help you. I'll do the first part, right? If I say yes to this meal, then finish it.
You know what might be a part of it? I feel like it makes me the center of attention for a second.
Okay. So I'll be the center of attention, right? So let's continue. And this looks bad because
I don't know. It might. I have a sense of feeling a little bit unprepared.
Right.
So maybe it's just me, I guess, overthinking. You should have eaten before. You should have been, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm the only one who hungry or who needs to use the washroom or whatever it might be.
Right. So you know what I hear though? If I dig deeper, it makes me look weak and incompetent.
You might be right about that. You're probably right about that, especially in work settings. But you know, what are you thinking about this? This happened to me in social settings. Maybe we should just do a session, no? Because this has happened to me in social settings a lot. Like, I don't like to use actually use no bathroom. I rather die. I rather explode internally. Serious. And now you're wondering like why. But the feeling of incompetency is generally there, and maybe there's a issue that could lead to a lot of the more behaviors in those situations.
Yeah. So, and this is what we're going to do in the class. I know it's hard to dig deep and find those beliefs, but that's why I'm here.
Right.
And that's what we'll be doing.
Yeah, it feels like the answer is I don't know.
Yeah, but when you dig deep, it's true. I feel like, they'll think of me who was his child. He didn't know he was supposed to eat. He greedy.
Yeah.
He didn't prepare. He couldn't wake up on my breakfast. Big man he married. His wife look up. All kind of madness.
Listen. And the thing is, you're saying that, right? And it's not like if I'm cycling through those things in my mind in the moment. But I think you're right, because it's like years of that type of feeling of unpreparedness or incompetence or whatever it is, especially in work settings.
Yeah.
Makes me avoid whatever the thing is. And maybe, now that you're saying it, maybe it's part of the reasons why if I have presentations to do those, that's why I'm so nervous about it, because I'm worried about coming across as unprepared or incompetent or not knowing what I'm talking about.
Exactly. So, that's a lot of mind reading there.
Jesus.
We assume we know what people think and we read their minds and then we run with it because we think it's true.
No, I absolutely know what people think.
Yeah, you have those powers listening.
Yeah, for sure. I see it on their face. Like, who's this guy? Where is he? But let me ask you this, right? As we're on this topic, because now you have me in a spot here, because now I want to dig deep to find out. Because in social settings, it's not really incompetence, but like I remember being in a thing. We went to what is one of Stacy's friends too, and we were by her house, and there's a little card line, and I mean, I'm the most talkative and life of the party person when I know everybody there, but when I don't know nobody,
you don't say.
I don't want to. I'm that
For
guy.
real?
100%. But when me and know nobody, I the opposite of this. I don't want to talk too much on because I make a real bad joke, I suppose. So I don't want to offend nobody. I be quiet when I don't know people.
Yeah.
And
True.
listen, I needed to use the washroom, so I asked Stacy if she wasn't there, and I had to ask somebody else, I'd probably leave. That fete is over for me. But she was there, and she told me where it was, something, and I went, and somebody was there. So Stacy's like, well, just ask her, and she will use the washroom upstairs. I was like, no way in hell. I rather die.
Not happening, yeah.
Not happening. I rather my bladder burst. This ain't happening. But they make me wonder now, like, what? It sounds so ridiculous when you say it out loud. But it's like, why?
It does. It really does sound ridiculous because we don't know why. And the beliefs don't play in our mind in the moment because they probably formed in childhood.
Jesus.
Yeah. So your parents forcing you to do something. Don't make me look bad.
Yeah.
Uncle Henry not going to like this.
Right.
Auntie May will say a rude child. Don't embarrass me. And we grow with, okay, so ignore what I need. It looks bad. Okay, all right. A lot of these things come from childhood. Huh?
Well.
So that's something for parents to think about as well. When they're forcing their children to do things in terms of their personal space that they feel uncomfortable with and they tell us.
So the idea, now the cycle continues because when we, let's say one of them parang lines like I was talking about, 40, 50 people there, Zachary had to go and hug everybody, it's like, go and get everybody a hug and a kiss before we leave.
Mm-hmm.
Might be such a good idea. Might be a good idea at all.
No, it's not a good idea. And children will always tell you when they're uncomfortable with something. I saw a debate online. Oh my gosh, debate online.
Mm-hmm.
Where a therapist spoke about, please stop forcing your children to hug and kiss relatives that they don't want to.
Right.
And people went off on, children these days have no discipline. Who is in charge, the parents or the child? And I was amazed to see the force that people were opposing something so simple. Don't let them hug and kiss people that they don't want to. It's their skin. It goes on their skin. It's the first place we know boundaries. It's your skin and your body. And you're telling them, I will tell you what to do with it even you don't feel comfortable. What's the message there?
Yeah, you're not in control of your own body.
Exactly. You're not even in control of your own body. And that's distressing to children, huh?
I see it because I am definitely, to me, it's almost like I'm trying to tell him, don't be rude as an adult. Don't no, I mean, even saying that out loud now sounds like,
yeah, how does it sound?
Like mayhem is really that's a bad idea all around. Because I'd be so worried about him, like you say, embarrassing me or making the other person feel bad. You know?
And if they feel bad and your child is happy and comfortable, is that a good trade-off?
Well, before now, no. But now they say that, yeah, because before now, Zachary would have to be the upset one, you know. And he getting a talking to coming through the car or heading home too, because it's like, I force you to do it, you're uncomfortable doing it. And you know, the thing about him, and I guess any child, if he's really uncomfortable with whatever the thing is, whether it's a person or whatever it is, when I thinking of him not embarrassing me or having discipline, quote unquote, it gets worse. Because then he's gonna listen, he have a way he's go limp is the funniest thing you ever see. When you're trying to get him to do something you don't want to do. Like his whole spine is collapsed. I've never seen anything like that. His whole face goes comatose and his spine collapsed. It's like everything not to laugh in the moment.
Yeah.
But it makes it worse, you know?
He's reacting.
Of course.
He's reacting and then he has to act it out because, their mind is little so they don't have the words that we have.
Right.
But they will act it out.
So if he's uncomfortable, well, I guess, that's something I had to change one time.
Yeah. Once it's their skin on their body.
Make it his choice.
Yeah.
How are we going to tell Caribbean parents this Neola? Because you're talking to Caribbean aunts and uncles and granny and things. How are we changing this?
We don't have to change them. We make our choices and we change what we do.
Gotcha.
Because they may never change, and we sit with the discomfort, and it's fine. Nobody has ever died from feeling uncomfortable.
I feel like dying. I feel like dying about 1,000 deaths internally. There's a lot of dying happening inside of me, but yeah, you're right.
I promise if you stick with it, and over time the discomfort just reduces so much.
Right.
It really does.
Yeah, do
But
the
we
work,
have to
right?
practice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the great thing about the class is once you pay the down payment on registering, you get a free session with me. And all of those things we talk about. How has it been? What's been happening? What's the pushback? Are there any gaps that we need to address? And we really use that time to tweak the boundaries map because we build a map on day 2 of the class.
Well, this is one-on-one when you start off.
Yeah, so okay. the free consultation after class is one-on-one. Right. That's your time. It's 45 minutes, just me and the person.
Right.
And we're going to talk about the map that we build on day 2. So day 2 is based on day 1, which is the rights that you have for yourself that you violate, and you violate your own boundaries. Then we extend those outward. Mm-hmm. So in this particular situation with these particular people, these are particular scripts that I can follow. So these are things that I can do and say, and that's why it's so practical and realistic. Mm-hmm. We're not doing any, sitcom or realistic thing. Right. There are ways to say things, mm-hmm. And we're going to work on some of those ways that suit your language and your personality style. So this is not a one-size-fits-all approach. That doesn't work. This is very, very personalized to you. So when you practice all of those things, mm-hmm. we are going to come back in consultation and talk about what's been working, what feels uncomfortable, what do we need to do. It's fantastic. It's a fun. I'm very excited. It's such a fantastic class.
Listen, you have me there already because it's so practical the way you're working through it that I could see where I have a lot to gain with that, because a lot of it too is just a structured approach to it that I would have never thought of on my own. When you say manage your boundaries, it sounds so vague. It sounds like, I don't know where to start. Exactly. So when you say your skin, like a physical boundary, I wouldn't have thought of different types of boundaries at all. When I hear boundaries, right, I thought I come into a class to learn how to tell people no and how to cuss people and so on. You know what I mean? Say, nah, I ain't doing it. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness.
But now that you say so, other than physical, like your physical, they have different types of boundaries other than physical that you help us through?
Yeah, we're going to talk about emotional, physical, mental. You have boundaries around your money as well.
Right.
Yeah,
sure. Nick will be happy to hear that I am.
Oh my gosh, Nicholas would be.
Nick will be very happy to hear that I'm doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so is financial, physical, emotional. Yeah,
emotional, mental, of course, with your time as well and your energy.
Right, got you. Yeah. All right, well, give us some details now for those who haven't signed up yet. In terms of how to sign up, what I will do is send it out to everybody who's on the email database. I'll include it in the description as well. But you want to give the prices and stuff, or you want people to call you about that?
Sure, yeah, why not? So the link is in my bio, but the link will come and go because, of course, I'll be putting the link for the podcast.
Right.
So each class is 3 hours, 1:30 to 4:30 on 2 days, so it's 6 hours. Mm-hmm. It's always on a Sunday because that's when most people are available. So class 1, which is 4, is the 28th of February and March 14th. But class 2, I haven't published the link for registration yet.
Right.
If you want it, you could DM me or message me for it, because that's actually how class 1 got so full so fast, is people message me before I advertise.
Nice.
So class 2, again, 2 Sundays, 1:30 to 4:30, and class 2 is Sunday 7th and Sunday 21st of March. 6 hours, the cost is $9.25. If you make your 50% down payment on registration, you get your free bonus, which is the 45-minute consultation with me.
Right.
Right. Now, I have So it's myself. I'm the head coach. We have a guest coach who is Simona Costa. She's a mindfulness facilitator and a mind body therapist. And she's coming in to talk to us about how to do this work with kindness and compassion. So we'll really be talking about the guilt and discomfort that comes with it. Right? If you're listening and you're still not convinced, this class is for you. If you say yes when you're exhausted, busy, have other priorities, you feel guilty to refuse requests, you end up in one-way relationships where you keep giving even until you're empty. You're constantly taking other people's problems on as their own, trying to rescue them, fix their issues. You feel resentful and hurt when people don't return the same level of support to you. And if people have shown themselves to be toxic and abusive to you and you have a choice, you continue letting them into your life and space.
You could just repeat
So
the first one for me again.
You say yes when you're exhausted, busy, or you have other higher priorities.
Okay, I need to stick that up somewhere.
It's in your info sheet on page 4.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
That's
there's
me
the
in a
whole
nutshell.
list there. And the info sheet is actually on the link in my bio. If you click it, it just takes you straight to the sheet so you can have a look at it. All of the details are there.
Nice. Well, I mean, congrats for having the first one sold out. And I like the approach to it because I felt like if I could talk Stacey business a little bit here. When I found out how great and useful therapy is, I was gung ho. I was like, everybody needs to sign up for therapy. You know, I get excited one time, but
Right.
people have to do things on their own time and follow their own journey.
That's
So
right.
she would have reached out to somebody, but she kept saying, I don't have anything to talk about. It doesn't feel like I have anything to talk about. So I didn't know that group therapy was a thing before now.
Right.
I also didn't know that there could be specific things that you come to talk about. So there's an agenda. I'm much more comfortable in a setting where they have a specific agenda we're working through, something like a workshop.
Yes, so the structure is good for you.
Yeah, it works. That works for me. And if anybody is like me and is such a high hurdle to get to the point where you go to a therapist and don't wait till you're like me where something happened to you physically to go and start doing the work as that therapist used to tell me. I think sessions like these are so encouraging and so grateful that we're in a time now. I mean, COVID is what it is. But if it wasn't for COVID, maybe we would not be doing some of these things on Zoom and having sessions where we could connect with one another so easily and get our support.
I'm so grateful for the platform, I'm so grateful for the platform. You're home, you don't have to drive, which in itself is just stress. You're comfortable.
Yeah.
You're so comfortable. I'm comfortable as well.
Yeah. Well, you do a good job of that. You make it a little easier than the average person to get people to talk about their incompetence and so on.
Yeah.
So it's not bad. It's not a bad start. So I encourage anybody to go on. I have one question for you that might be random before we go.
Sure. Yeah.
Because something you said about that meeting thing made me think of. I was reading something about imposter syndrome. Is that a real thing or?
It's a real thing. So basically, you feel like an imposter, and the study shows that it's actually people who know more and who know what they're doing and who qualify to do it get imposter syndrome more than people who have no idea what they're doing but always jump in to give you advice. So it's basically, I feel like a fraud. It happened to me. I've been practicing now 19 years. I hold all these licenses. I'm a fantastic therapist based on the results.
Right.
But kill me dead almost every time I have a new client. I think, should I Google how to do therapy? Do I actually know? Do I know what I'm doing? I don't deserve to charge what my other colleagues at my level of experience and training are charging. I don't deserve it. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't run my own business. It's all these doubts, and none of it is based in evidence at all.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that because that is the way. So I guess I came up with that. It came to mind when you said that feeling of incompetence, and it might be one of the reasons why Because you're in rooms where, like, I doubt myself a lot in certain rooms or certain spaces. And, it's like, should I really be here? Should I talk about this? Do I really know it? I hate the word expert. You know what I mean? It's a constant battle where those things concern,
Yeah.
All right.
But if we spent hundreds of hours in schooling, training, supervision, thousands of dollars to be educated, years and years and years getting, experience to back up our license, doesn't that make us experts though? We feel so bad just to even use the name. I'm an expert.
Yeah. What? Not me. I can't. It don't really fly. And it's like, it causes me, the thing about it is, I don't know if there's such a thing as guilt in advance. And I don't know if any of this related to boundaries at all. But when I have those meetings or those types of presentations to do, I have so much scenario. Most times I can't sleep the night before because I have so much scenarios going on as to how it's gonna go wrong.
Right.
And especially that one you're talking about where you feel like you could read people's minds. I'm the king. I read in everybody's mind and what they're saying about me and why I shouldn't be there and why, I do that all the time.
Yeah, because remember, you have powers. Now, here's the thing is that sometimes that could be functional because it could help us to plan for emergencies, right?
Right.
So some of it is functional. But when we start rehearsing it and we only looking at worst case scenario, that's not functional at all.
It's just
because
exhausting.
On the flip side, it is exhausting. And then on the flip side, what about all of the things that could go right? We never think about that.
I never thought about it.
But it could go right in so many ways and it could be fantastic.
I never, in all this stewing I do in the night before, and you know what happens? It gets so exhausting that by the time I get the response that I want, let's say it's a contract sign or the presentation went real well, it's more of a relief for me than a celebration. Because at that point, I was so exhausted. It's just like, oh God, well, thank God that's over. It never feels...
And then you can't even savor it.
No.
And it's so nice to savor your success. That's more encouraging than beating up on yourself, though.
For sure. And the success is a healthier kind of guilt-free feeling of success that you could really enjoy. I mean, the reality
is... It's so empowering. And then you could take that and do even better with the next time.
All right,
so that's your homework.
Yeah. We are work to do.
Think about all the ways it could go right,
So yeah, I'd do some work where that's concerned because that definitely is not helpful at all. Not useful.
No, it's not helpful. And you say you set up yourself, you go into the thing exhausted, and you can't put your best foot forward anyway. So
Listen, these sessions, right? These podcasts. This is like an hour free therapy for me. I don't know if this is supposed to be. If I don't know if there's mutual benefit, but every time we talk, it's like
It's all these light bulbs. I love the podcast because I learn from you as much as because see when I get in my head and I use this therapy talk, I think I take it as a given, and I might forget that there are things that people don't know.
No, yeah, absolutely. You should keep that in mind because a lot of it, I mean, you're in it and seeing it every day, but it's stuff that when you said read people's minds, that is exactly, I'll tell you what happened to me. A few examples I have of it. Like, I don't know if we spoke about this before, but I remember lecturing in a class once and a guy was looking so confused in the back of the class. This man, and he's the most, I usually ask everybody to introduce themselves, right? And he was a senior person, more qualified and experienced than me, well, in his field. So he's a senior person to me in the working world and older and everything. And listen, if you ever sit down in my class, I will always cover the content, but I'm going to talk shit for the whole time. Current affairs, make joke and everything. But I know I get into the content. I don't want the class to be boring. And this man's face looks so confused, almost like, why you don't just get to the point, boy? Why this man, when everybody else laughing, he is looking so confused. Like, they really put this fella to lecture? This is why I read in his mind saying,
Right.
And he's like, who is this guy? Why is he here? Why I sign up for this? I see him saying all these things is on his forehead. And it really made the class a real difficult one for me because every week when I go in, I was hoping this man don't come. You know what I mean? I said, boy, they're going to stop me from lecturing. Only for the end of the class to come and this man come and say, boy, this is one of the best classes I've ever been in. I was so engaged. I was like, what? I was like, you look so...
Oh my goodness.
And it could have been such... And I mean, nothing else would have changed except that I would have been more relaxed, enjoy myself more, probably do a better job too.
Exactly.
And this whole thing's so built up in my mind. So what do you say?
So you never asked him if he was okay?
I was frightened. No, you say that song. You see, when you say something, it sounds so simple. But in the moment, I was so frightened. I don't want to make eye contact with this man. Every time I say something that I think funny, I talk about things that work with every other class. Everybody's be laughing. This man's so serious. I had to try now not to look in this guy direction at all. And it's happened. So I would love to know how he is. I mean, I'll look to your help for that. I'll probably spend the whole 45 minutes talking about that. I want to stop being able to try to read people's mind. Yeah. I opened with that. I was like, it's like, hey, Neola, fix this for me. You are now my brain mechanic. Like, it's a lot. I remember a time too playing music. We had this concert on, and we rehearse enough. When music is true. It's either you put in the work or you don't put in the work, right?
That's right.
If you put in the work, it's gonna become automatic. And we were there. We were rehearsing. We were tight. Nothing, you know what I mean? Nothing going to go wrong. And I remember a lady called Joy Caesar, God bless her soul, she passed away last year. She's the head of the Southern Airs Choir. And she knows music. Her ear is amazing. She hears every wrong note and wrong chord you play. Excellent musician. And boy, this woman come in front the stage and sit down right in front my quattro, boy. I say, Jesus Christ. I said, this concert done. This is nervous.
To do it to you. Oh.
Nervous. When I tell you, I've never felt that feeling before. My whole mouth was dry. When it's my turn to sing, I had to drink water just to get, you know what I mean? And her face was looking just like that fella face in that class. Exact same expression. And I like, oh my God. And
that's
she's saying thing. And she had such a good time in the show. She was like, boy, it was great. You all sound so good. I was like, I did not enjoy a moment. And I was like, Joy, don't sit down nowhere close to me again. So next time, turn your back and listen. But yeah, I figure out how to do that because all it does is it's just tire you out, really, to be honest.
If we stop thinking that we have these magical powers, we would feel so much freer to just live. Just live and enjoy things. Just live, you know?
All right, just live.
Just live and enjoy things. And I always say, look, let's trust that people can speak for themselves. They can say when they're not pleased about something and we could talk about it. And honestly, this might sound bad, but if you don't tell me anything and you go home stewing, that's your business.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's your business. I'm open. I mean, but you could come and talk to me about anything.
And
if you choose not to, that is your business. I am going to go home and have a wonderful sleep.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, we'll get there.
That's some work. Yeah, it's sounding like far, but we will get there.
We're going to level up, and this will, I promise.
Beautiful.
Because you see, the thing is, you're so open and self-aware. So it's the ideal mix, and you're the ideal student for this class. My other students too. So of course, not everybody who wants to be in group should be in the group.
Right.
I may recommend that somebody do individual therapy instead.
Understood.
Yeah, it might be more appropriate for some people. So, yeah, you guys could DM me or just click on the link and, get all the details there.
All right, good. So we're going to fix it in the first 45 minutes and then enjoy the rest of the session. Because I come into that session feeling exactly like I feel with that guy in the back of the class. So I'll work on it up front. And as you say, just enjoy it. I will.
Yeah, it will be great. Really excited.
Yeah, so that's it. Boundary setting. I hope you guys learned as much as I did and you found it useful. So I'll touch base with you guys again soon to tell you how the course is going and hopefully I'm getting much better at setting my own boundaries and feeling worthy and all these nice things. So let's see how it goes. Until then, I'll talk to you guys next week. Don't forget to go over to Neola's Instagram page, Neola_Zama_, and you'll get all the information about the coaching that she's doing. And hopefully, I like how Neola say it, level up. I feel like them young people, you know what I mean? Just level up. So I'll talk to you guys next week.